Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. It's TED Talk time, which means we're going to be talking techie and doing the podcast. As always, if you want something talked about next time, make sure to stick it in the comment section of the previous one. Morning, Cold One Cop. Nice to see you. Hopefully, you're doing good. But interesting week for War Thunder. Update came out, and that means that is all ready to go and all sorted. So, at least at the moment, there is quite a lot of stuff kind of going on with that. I think overall, it's not really too surprising to see that all happen. The update itself seems pretty good. I know there's a lot of bugs and stuff like that, but at least for me, I kind of see that as just like a standard nowadays. I know it's probably not the best idea to have as a as a general rule, like just deciding that these things were always going to break. But, you know, I've been around for too long when it comes to War Thunder. Everything is just kind of designed in that way where things just kind of annihilate itself. So let's go through the tech talk and let's go through the general comments. We'll also talk about some other things that are going on as well, kind of as like an introduction and things, just stuff to look forward to in terms of like the next period of time. Obviously, we have like all the War Thunder stuff that's going on, which is fantastic. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on with good old War Thunderoo, and some other things that are also happening in terms of this. Why is my desired surplus that? There we go. When it comes to War Thunder, we're going to be playing a lot of the new vehicles, so especially the ground vehicles that have turned up. I've already played the AMD 35, well, both of those, and then also the Harry Hopkins, and I've been grinding out the DF-105 for France, and then also I've been grinding out the Mr. S, the 2S19. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're also going to be playing some other stuff. We finished off the campaign for Company of Heroes yesterday, which was really good, but that opens us up for some other things. We're going to be playing Battlefall State of Conflict in the coming weeks. We're also going to be probably looking at Cataclysmo, Ground Control, Sniper Elite, a bunch of different stuff. Usually I put out a schedule when it comes to the, what do you call it? I usually put out a schedule for the week on Patreon, but I was wondering I might just like expand it, so therefore the actual thing, like, so everybody kind of sees what's going on and then everybody gets a kind of idea what's happening. But most of the time it kind of stays the same. We're going to be devoting more time to War Thunder as time goes on. Yeah, basically in the week I like to in the year I like to ramp up when it comes to War Thunder, because I don't want to get to a point where I kind of get bored with it, because there's so many different things going on with it, which can definitely happen if you're not careful in terms of this stuff. So just got to make sure that that all stays okay and stays fine. So yeah, that's the basic idea of what's kind of going on. I wonder what do mules do in this game? So in Mana Lords, what I want to do today is I want to get the mana done so we can get our public order up. We can also start bringing in some money so we can buy some other regions around the map if we want to and expand. And then also we need to sort out the food supply, which means getting people into the fields and getting them all sorted with windmills and, you know, bakeries and all these different stuff so we can have a bit of fun. Also, I want to have a look at the Future Games Show. Abby actually sent me some messages about one of the games that she saw there, so we're going to have to check that out too. Good morning, Matrix. Nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good, man. Hopefully everything is okay. Hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, so it should be a pretty good week ahead. I don't know how many reviews of stuff I'm going to do. Probably talk about the 2S19. A lot of the new, like, aircraft, I mean, I say a lot of them. There's only, like, really 3 of them if you think about it. They're not, at least to me, that interesting. So going to have a think about what to do with that going forward. But I think, at least for me, you know, there's still going to be a decent amount of stuff that can be done. So we'll generally focus on that as we go. What is this? Oh, the Weaver's Workshop, of course. This is for the sheep. So yeah, let's get into the comments. Let's go forward, and if there's anything else I can think of, we'll go from there. As I said, there's only been 5 of them, so there's not a ton of stuff to go through, but you know, there's always a little bit of interesting thoughts. So first of all, we have Cat Top. Instead of creating a new game mode for strategic bombers, just replace the current PvE mode or air assault with PvE-EC, similar to how heli PvE is done. I don't know. Like the whole point of those game modes is they're supposed to be quick, and you know you're supposed to get something out of it quickly and not just sit around all day and play in those. Like the idea is to be fast. It isn't to be slow, right? And that's a bit of a problem, right? Like yeah, it's not supposed to be like 2 hours. Is probably the way to put it. Boston car increases carrying capacity of goods per trip, significantly decreases journey time. Okay, so we probably need some horses. So that to me, like when I look at stuff like that, that's the problem, right? Like that is an issue. I feel like it's something where if they decided to change it, it would have to be kind of like a test thing. Because yeah, the PvE mode is there just to get like modifications quickly and then also get the boosters, right? So the whole point of the mode is to be quick. It's not designed to be long. There can be multiple types of bases and corresponding health pools so that multiple types of aircraft can appear to do something. Yeah. I mean, I feel like so this is something that has happened a lot in like War Thunder where they've done that and then people just play the most efficient thing anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. Hey Splendor Yum Yum, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. It's mana time. We're timing the mana. So hopefully you're doing good with that. Well, food is going to be a problem through this winter. There can be ground targets roaming around or ground engagements, something that's basically like what happens in heli PvE. For players that want to engage ground units instead of base bombing, can be open to all aircraft so that it's not limiting to the player's playstyles. This so in theory, and right, how do I go through this? In theory, this all sounds fantastic, right? Because you have a situation where it's like, oh, so these guys here, what they want to do is they want to be able to make something which sounds as if it's going to work fantastically and it's going to be there for everybody, right? And therefore everything is going to work well and you're going to have no issues with it, right? So that to me sounds great. Yeah. The problem is reality doesn't follow that. And that is your huge issue you're going to have kind of going forward. So reality shows that what actually happens in a situation like that is people just find the thing that is best at the job and then they just do that and nothing else. And it sucks. That really sucks that that's the case, but that's how people work. So if you have a look at heli PvE, or a better example would be like heli PvP, because that was like an extreme example of this, but PvE is exactly the same. What you'll find is there's a lot of people complaining about the PvE right now, and the reason for the complaints is because what's ended up happening is people are using what is the kind of best using what is kind of the best vehicles over and over and over again and not using anything else. So what this has created is a system where a ton of different people are just using the same stuff over and over and over again. And this has caused problems. Because what it means is all the people who want to use anything else can't. Right? RIB, the guy with 5,000 in one plane, 200 kills, and the next one on the list. Jesus, that's a bit crazy. So, especially in a PvE game, right? Like, so if you have like a PvE mode and you believe that everybody will play, fairly and do all this stuff like that, that's fantastic. But they won't. The what ends up happening is they can straight up, or sorry, not can, they will straight up just play what is best for them and nothing else. And that sucks. Like that really sucks. But it's what happens. It's called min-maxing. And I'll give you an example of this. So back in the day on the Tech Hub, we actually had some like kind of events where the idea of them was to just, kind of have a bunch of people together, and when those people came together, it would mean that, how do I rotate this again? It would mean that, people could have a bit of fun and we would play different games. So one of these games that we played was Armor 3. We played some Terraria together. We did some different stuff, and generally it was okay. Like it was fine for the first few hours. And then what happened after that time is what people would do is they would turn up, and they would already be massively behind because other people had min-maxed it to a point where they were just annihilating everything that was around. So what ended up happening is people really, if you weren't there in like the first place, so if you weren't there early on, you just got trounced by whatever enemy the other people had turned up with. And this caused like a huge issue because, yeah, it basically meant that people were screwed. Now that wasn't very fun for the people, right? That wasn't an enjoyable experience. And when you have a look at game modes, which generally have like smaller populations of people, they are more likely to have that happen. So, because what they'll end up doing is they will kind of like cause that happening, right? Um, so you have less barriers or less people who are going to play different stuff. So everything becomes very, very particular in that specific way. So when I think about this idea of just creating like a mode like that, right, for strategic bombers, it's not going to be for strategic bombers. It's going to be for the planes, which are the fastest and which have the largest bomb loads with that fastness. And you know how I know that? Because after playing Aerialistic for the longest time, which is a PvP mode, which has like all of these PvP elements, what ends up happening with it is people use premiums to bomb bases because it's the most efficient and easiest way of them getting access to research and grinding, and then afterwards maybe getting a kill, maybe not getting a kill. So they take these vehicles which are designed around being very, very good even at air. Like the F4S, for example, is not a bad aircraft at all. It's a fantastic aircraft, right? So what ends up happening is they take those vehicles and they bastardize them, and they just figure out which is the easiest and most efficient way for them to grind, and they do that. So we can have these ideas of everybody playing properly, everybody having a great time, everybody working out everything and going proper. They're not going to do that. And we have too many examples of that in the history of War Thunder. So if you're making a game mode where you think that everything is going to fit, or there's going to be, hey, we got our first horse. Did you see that? If you're making a game mode where you think everything is going to have its own way and everything's going to be fixed and everything, it's unfortunately not going to happen, and it sucks. It really does. I wish that people kind of did, play properly. Yeah, look at this guy. Actually, no, I think this guy's a trader, isn't he? It's not using the roads though. Disgraceful. I wish that people were a bit better at kind of playing the way that you're supposed to, but they won't because they don't care. They just want the shiny new thing and they want the shiny research. So whatever mode you're going to create, if you try and put people into like, or have this idea that everybody's going to like play it properly or whatever, it ain't going to work, man. It ain't. And I wish it could. So what you need to do is you need to create a game mode which does have something for everybody, but the main thing is to make it popular enough so therefore you have people trying different styles and trying different things. Because otherwise, if you can't make it popular enough, so therefore open it up to as many people, you will not have that scenario, and then instead you will just have the same thing over and over and over again, which is basically what happens in like some of the game modes anyway, right? I do think the idea of replacing a game mode with another one, so instead of sitting there and um, instead of like sitting on the game mode and creating a new one, like trying to adapt or replace a previous one, I think that's a good idea. You know, that's something that, you know, we've talked about before. It's what they did with Heli PvP. It's what they did with Air Sim, you know, when they added in the EC stuff, right? So the whole idea of that was to try and make it a little bit more responsive and to make people a little bit like wanting to actually play these things. So I think that's not a bad idea. Like that could definitely work. I feel like, unfortunately, with the strategic bomber stuff, I don't, I can't envision a game mode where they work with everything else unless it is just like a straight PvE thing. Unless they start adding some ridiculous vehicles. Like, you know what? One of the things they could do, which I thought could be interesting. So instead of just adding like the strategic bombers, they could add all the vehicles that were designed to destroy them, but the ones which have all the silly weaponry. So stuff like the R40s, for example, things like the AIM-4, for example. And what you could do there is you could kind of make it not as easy for the fighters to kind of take these guys down at long ranges. Because one of the problems you have nowadays, if you have a look at stuff like the B-29, B-17, you know, all these things, or not B-17, but Tu-4, they just get blasted by like missiles most of the time. And sometimes they get hit by guns, but at least then they can, you know, they can kind of sort it out. So for me, yeah, that could be something that you do. The major thing is we know at least, well, we don't know they're working on them, but it's one of the next logical steps since, you know, they're going to run out of pretty much everything else at that point. So let's have a look at Organic Chemistry Junkie. Thank you, Tech, for the story last time. And when you hit that point of nothing I say will get through, I can't afford to care anymore. It's not even really like affording to care. It's more it's just worthless to care. Like it's like screaming into a void, like into a black hole. What I honestly wonder though, can Gaijin adopt the same mindset towards the extreme and reactionary player base elements, which have historically caused disproportionate shit to rain down on every game mode? And if they can, would it be smart to do so? What Gaijin says publicly, or what elements or people of Gaijin say publicly, is not what they believe privately, right? And that's every company, you know. that's kind of how it is. And I can guarantee that when it comes to War Thunder, they do not listen to the crazies because they realize they're crazies. Like I know some of the ideas or some of the thoughts that, you know, they've put into the game may look like, you know, placating some of the crazies. But if you actually think about all the crazy opinions that people have, like the ones which would nuke the game, they've never really been implemented. Or at least not implemented in a huge way. Like there is definitely thoughts in terms of, you know, like the it's the whole like how far do you like push the element to one side? Like how long do you make it so you go along like the realism bent, for example, of the game, right? Now, obviously, if they wanted to go full realism, they'd get rid of the BR system, right? But they're never going to do that. So it's more just about where they sit on that scale in terms of doing those things. They're never gonna like go full bore into any of these ideas because they're kind of silly general opinions. But at the same time, you know, over the history of War Thunder, there's been some pretty simple like rules that I feel like they've followed. Number one is they want to make the vehicles themselves as realistic as possible, and then they want to balance them through the BR system, and then they want to make game modes that actually try their best at making, you know, different things work, right? Hey, Struer, nice to see you. So in terms of like the crazies, you know, who are around the place, they don't really get listened to. It's like screaming into the void. That's why you have like community managers, and that's why you have moderators. That's why you have like all these different people, right? Their use or their reason why they exist is so basically others can, what's the word? It's basically so others, hey, there's the Weaver's Workshop, nice. I don't think we have any wool though. Their use and their whole point of existence as a set of people is to put a big barrier between the people who actually make decisions and community members who are absolutely nuts. Plus, you know, plus like just bothering them with so many things. One of the things that I've found over my time is sometimes you can just get bogged down in discussions and get bogged down in, you know, people wanting to be heard in certain ways, which, you know, as we talked about previously, it's not a negative thing. But at the same time, if you let it happen over and over and over again, you have a real problem on your hand because you will stop actually focusing on what is important. And when you stop focusing on what is important, it's a pain in the ass because then even though you're having all these conversations about everything, you end up in a situation where you can't do anything else, right? Hey, Imres, nice to see you. And you get stuck kind of talking about these things and nothing else. So I'm sure they're aware of that, since many of them have been doing this for over a decade, and that's why you have those filters in place. The thing you have to worry about, and this is something that has happened in the past, is when some of the crazies become part of that team, right? Now, luckily, some of those crazies have been part of that team and then been let go from that team, or decided to leave when they realized they can't get anything from that team. But that is something you have to be very, very careful of, because you do have absolute nutsos who will just go a bit crazy in terms of that. Hey, Nick Blaster, nice to see you. Yeah, my hat's pretty nice, isn't it? Pretty good. I just had a C-130J fly right over my house. It was at 4,000 feet, and I got some good photos of it. Could you stick them in the Discord? I'd really like to see that stuff. Oh, by the way, the kits came. The modeling kits from, is it Aleri or Valeria or whatever? They actually, my father sent them over, so they're here. I thought we could maybe put some together. Might be pretty fun. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Like when thinking about stuff like that, think about like War Thunder's history, right? And do you think there's been like a time in War Thunder's history where they have fully listened to the crazies in terms of their opinions, in terms of what they do, right? There have definitely been some times where, especially on the historical bent, they've tried to placate, which is, you know, understandable at the end of the day. Like they want to placate at least up to a point. But I don't think there's been a point, at least that I can think of, where what they've ended up doing is they've fully gone down that bend, right? Give me a bend, I'll put them in. I do have an Insta for aviation. If you want me to put in chat, I can do. The links, unfortunately, people can't put in chat just because, you know, obviously bots and stuff like that, and also fishy links, but you can put it on the Discord if you want. So yeah. Hey, Teddy, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good, man. The other thing about it, especially when it comes to worrying about gadging, caring about specific things, it's another one of those control things, right? Like there is, no matter what happens, there is no way you can influence or control like any of that stuff. Hey, Liam Madrin, nice to see you. Yeah, the game's fun, man. I enjoy it a lot. We're just building our mana right now. But yeah, there's no way that you can control any of that stuff, right? So once again, it's a control issue. And And the more things that you realize are out of your control, the kind of less that you care about them, and you just kind of go with them. Obviously, if it's something that affects people personally, then the idea is to become in control of that. But it's also something that, you know, at least in terms of this stuff, I feel like probably isn't in specific people's control, apart from the people who get paid for it to be in their control. So it's something not to really worry about too much. So we have Borg. Hi, I'm Nikki from the stream. Oh, well, there you go. Then we have Jerry. $50,000 or dinner with Jay-Z. I have absolutely no interest in Jay-Z, and I don't think he would have any interest in me. I don't understand celebrity culture, man. I just don't get it. I never have. I don't think I ever will. When it comes to celebrities, I live in the world of wanting celebrities just to be crazy people. Like I've always enjoyed the fact that online, like people that I enjoy following are not like sane individuals. I think the online era has actually been fantastic for that. Like when you think about like Wings of Redemption, right? Or Dark Side Film, or even just like, you know, the guy who made like Temple OS, or there's a new guy that Alex has been telling me about. What's his name? Da, da, da. Oh, I can't find his name, and I don't want to bring it up because he might start shouting stuff like that. But for me, like, I would rather just have dinner with insane people. I don't think talking to super ultra powerful wealthy people is that interesting because they all basically just say the same stuff. The only thing that's interesting about wealthy people is where they like sit on the how much do you give a shit about other human beings scale. Like and where you are on the placation point. But for insane people, it's just really interesting to like learn how they think because it's so different to at least the way that I see stuff. And that's why I find it super fun. I don't find it interesting just to basically like, you know, just to sit down with somebody who's like, you know, really rich and really powerful because, you know, in all they're really going to tell me how to do is they're just going to either do the thing where it's like work really hard or, you know, oh, I did this or I did this or that type of thing. Like it's going to be very self-centered. Whereas crazy people, they actually talk about the world around them and the way that they perceive it and how it affects them. And that to me is like super fun. Like I prefer the celebrity type, which is more like, you know, what All Gas No Breaks used to be, where like it's just literally going around interviewing just insane people and like their thoughts on things. I don't like, you know, the super political stuff or like the super money driven stuff because it's just super dull because they all just say the same stuff. And I prefer it to be different. How close are we to building this? God damn, it's taking these guys ages. We've straight up built in the time it's taking the manor, the windmill, which is going to be for the grain, which we're going to have to start planting soon, actually. Then the weaver's workshop, and then we're also working... We've already got one communal oven up. God damn. Isn't that crazy? Nuts. I've just added the Discord, and it's asked me to create a thread for the War Thunder General. So what should I do? You don't have to put it you don't have to create a thread in there. The major thing is you can put it in the history or the miscellaneous section. You just have to read the rules. Sometimes some things are mixed. So yeah, if you're like, you know, $50,000 or like go to dinner with a crazy person, I would probably like pick the crazy person. But if it's somebody like Jay-Z or like Kim Kardashian or like Cristiano Ronaldo or like Lionel Messi or anything like that, it would just be a no. Because there's already so much information about those people. There's already so much like out there. So it's like, well, you know, why don't I just go talk to them? That to me is much more interesting and much more fun instead of that. So yeah, that's at least how I see it. I could obviously be completely wrong and crazy, which is more likely. But yeah, I generally feel that's how it kind of goes. You know what? We're gonna get some farmers in. This will be the first time we'll get the farmers going. Then we'll also get the sheep going and everything like that. Like, imagine sitting down with, I don't know, like one of the crazy like serial killers or one of the nutso jobs, which was part of like the maple syrup heist or something like that. Like, wouldn't that be really interesting? Instead of like, oh look, there's this dude and yeah, he made a ton of money by singing. Okay. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not the right. What's the word? Maybe I'm just not the right audience for something like that. Then we have Mr. Mouse. Hello, Tech. I just saw a video of a small YouTuber that got his IS7 account banned. This was because of a joke of him with selling his account for the first offer. His name is Hiskinos, if you want to check out the situation. Of course, we can't be 100% sure it's true, what he says, but he says he has proof that his account is banned because of the joke. I mean, I looked at the video. I looked at the video that the guy made, which is fair. But one of the things that he did, which kind of means that I don't really trust anything, because obviously I don't know the dude at all. One of the things that he did is he deleted the original video, which kind of was him talking about, you know, why he supposedly got banned, right? Now, in history, when it comes to War Thunder, number one rule is when people say that they were banned for something, it could easily be that. It could easily not be that. Because in War Thunder, it's impossible to know what you were banned for, apart from the rule that they tell you that you're banned for, right? And the fact is that sometimes it's pretty obvious what you got banned for. Other times it isn't obvious what you got banned for. So yeah, it reminds me of back in the day. There was a dude who, you know, he had a really old account and he swore, you know, that he'd never cheated and yada 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 yada, and then he had. So it's usually not something that I to be honest, it's just not really like worth my time, because it's something that I just don't care enough about. It's just a random person like spewing words, and none of it really matters in terms of what actually, you know, goes on with it. So in terms of this situation, there isn't enough information to make a distinction between what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is false, and therefore I just don't really care that much. The other part of it, as I said, is this kind of setup. It's never going to be something that is ever going to really affect anything else. It's just a person who got their account banned by just saying some dumb stuff. According to them, of course, it could have easily been something else that had happened, which is usually what it actually is. But the other part of it is it's another thing where people just forget about it within a week, and that's just kind of how it goes. You know, you have people who turn up and then, you know, they get famous in terms of something that's happened for like a week or two, and then it just disappears again because people just stop caring. And it's up to the individual themselves to be able to try and prove that, you know, what they're saying is true, which is not always the easiest thing, by the way, because sometimes it just straight up, there's no way of telling if it's true or not. So if it did happen, obviously, you know, the Gaijin TOS is pretty decent on these types of things. Like, they're very good at they're very good at basically covering themselves. It's the best way of putting it. You know, it's not something that you will ever be able to get away from, and also at the same time, it's something where you just will never be able to. You'll, as I said, you'll just never be able to do anything about. So all I can really say on it is don't joke about this stuff. Like it's straight up like that. Like if you start joking about these things, what'll end up happening is they'll start, you know, they will take it seriously because how else are they supposed to take it? They have to take it seriously because of how all of this stuff is, right? So don't be surprised when something like that goes on because I don't as a company they have to take everything incredibly seriously. And this is something that isn't always understood from like kind of a community point of view. If they don't take everything seriously every time, the one time or the time where supposedly things aren't serious, then it's okay. But the time that something is serious and something is happening, and as we know when it comes to War Thunder, right? Stuff like this does happen, right? There is like account selling and stuff like that, which, you know, sucks at the end of the day, but it does happen. But because of this, they have to take all this stuff super seriously. Because if they're shown to like not be taking into account this stuff, or you know something goes differently, or they decide to change stuff up, then what's going to end up happening is it gets out that they let this slide, and bang, like you've got a huge issue on your hands because you have a ton of people who are not going to feel like, or going to feel like they can just break all the rules, right? It's like when people get mad at Disney for suing a preschool for using Mickey Mouse. They have to, or else it sets precedent that it's okay for others to faff about. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, that's the perfect example of it. Like at the end of the day, this person making a video saying that allegedly, since as I said, if it's a joke and all of this stuff is a joke and yada yada yada, like why delete the video? Like why delete the evidence? Like you could easily just prove it, right? But anyway, the the main thing about it is if you have all of this stuff kind of going on, then what ends up happening is you may not have you have to basically bonk everything on the head as it kind of goes. So because it just has to be done. If you do it in any other way, it's never going to work. So, and you know, we can talk about until the cow comes home that that's not good, and that's a problem, and that's fine. But there's nothing you can do about it. You know, like it's it's one of those things where you can either just like sit around and it's one of those things where you can either just sit around and they could not do anything about it, and then the opposite happens where, as I said, there's going to be like a bunch of people who turn up and go, well, you know, since you didn't do anything about this, then you know you can't do anything about this. And yeah, it kind of just sucks, but I just don't get what else they're supposed to do. If somebody is making threats, whether jokingly or not, about doing something as serious as that, what do you want them to do? Like, what's the play here? Do you want them just to kind of sit by and not do anything? The other thing is, the video itself was quite aggressive. I think Dog sent me it, and the guy was talking about suing the company and doing all of this stuff. And it's like, I mean, good luck. Like, you know, it's I get that he's probably just doing it out of being annoyed, but it's just another one of those things where it just doesn't matter. So it's another storm in the teacup at the end of the day. Hey, Salty John, nice to see you. One of the things I will say, it has been interesting to see how it's quite easy to get behind like one cause or one current topic at that time. And I feel like, at least in general, there's a lot of it where you know, people get really into trying to get involved in it. But then when it comes to like other issues, which at least I see as issues, there's not as much of a kind of push for it. Like there is some serious issues when it comes to the what's the word? There are some really serious issues when it comes to War Thunder and its TOS. They're the same issues that pretty much everybody else has when it comes to their TOSs, and they annoy the absolute piss out of me. Like the idea that what you can do if you're just an individual is you can just straight up what's the word? Oh, fertilization. Wait, what is that? Oh, it's this one. Allows the use of fallow field as pasture. Like the fact that most TOSs or EOLAs nowadays, they have just like straight terms which are just like, yeah, we can just get rid of your account whenever we feel like it. I find it very hard to actually take any of that stuff super seriously, because it pretty much means that you have no power in these situations. It's kind of like the digital license stuff, where, you know, everything is basically just whatever the company does. It feels like the power imbalance is very much off in that scenario, but at the same time, like, there's nothing else you're going to be able to do. Like, there's right now, that's how kind of like the laws are set up, and there's not really any other way of doing it. You're technically using their product, right? Like stuff like Steam. Some of the stuff in Steam has kind of annoyed me recently. With there was a ruling that happened that kind of made me sad, and I'm sure there's like a reason for it, like lawyer wise. What do you mean it's empty? Go get some goddamn berries. One of the things that happened, which I thought was really sad with Steam and Valve, is there was a case where in the will of this guy, he had actually put in the will that he wanted to pass on his Steam account, right? So the idea was the Steam account was something important to him, and to be honest, I can understand it, because for me, my Steam account, you know, if I pop my clogs, I would like somebody to have access to all of the stuff that I've got over the years, you know, and I should be able to pick who that is. I mean, we already have like the family sharing thing, right, which basically does that. But the part of the will which was in contention, was this person wanted to give basically the username and the password to a person so it could become theirs, so they could use it. And they asked Valve basically to be like, is this okay? And Valve just said no. Because the ownership, the technical ownership, or the license agreement, which is more of it, with the Steam account is with the individual. It is not with the entity, whoever owns the account at that time. And that is pretty much like the standard thing across the board for everybody. And it just makes me really sad. I don't know what else to put it. It just makes it so that there's so many different things now where people just they won't get access to these informations after people die, and that just makes me super sad. I hope in the future this type of thing kind of changes, but that is obviously, you know, something that hasn't changed yet and probably won't change for a very long time. So yeah, that's my general thoughts on these general things. The main part to kind of worry about is why at this point is this the thing that people want to kind of fight about or get sorted, and also is this a cause which is worth fighting for, since there is so much of the information that we don't actually know about. right? And that to me is the key area there. And that's the bit that I'm worried about. Because usually during these cases of I didn't do nothing, as I like to class them as, there is normally a few factors that are missing from the cases, and that worries me. You know, whether it is like stuff that they've said in other areas or other stuff. It reminds me of when people like they post on like Reddit, I didn't do nothing, like nothing happened. Why have I been banned? And it turns out that, you know, sometimes like Esmin will turn up and be like, well, because you basically called somebody the N-word. And then everybody's like, oh, fair enough. And it's like, well, yeah, you're trusting the word of a random person on the internet you've probably never seen before. You've probably never acquainted yourself with. That just seems like a really bad idea, because yeah, something will go wrong, and yeah, it's just never gonna go like that. Like if I somehow like lost like my War Thunder account, or you know, I don't know, got banned from something, I feel like, at least when it comes to like my stuff, I have no idea why that would happen. But if I couldn't get clarification on it happening, I don't think I would try and garner public support for it. Just because I just don't think it's something that would be fair to do. Good morning, old chief. Nice to see you. Life is good so far. We had a good day this morning. Got some biking in, got some weights in, had some butter chicken for lunch, which was really nice. So feeling very good. Overall, not too bad. Hopefully you're doing good too. Can get you another horse. For these guys. But yeah. So that's at least kind of my feeling on it. I'm sure many people have different opinions in terms of how all this stuff kind of goes, but that's just kind of what's in my head for it. I always really worry about stuff like that. I always really worry about putting my weight behind an issue, especially when there is so much information that just is not up for grabs to anybody. You know what I mean? Hey, Otto, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. If I lost my War Thunder account, I'd probably would cut loose and move to another game. Yeah, I know a lot of people who said that, who are in that boat. For me, I think what I would do, if I kind of didn't have access to my War Thunder account anymore, yeah, I'd probably just go play other stuff. I mean, there's so many options now when it comes to other stuff, right? So, I mean, I already play like a ton of different things anyway, but there's so many different experiences that you can go for. Like, I'm once again just struggling for time. Like, I wish I had more time to do things, because there's so many cool stuff like on the radar, even just at this moment, you know? Doing well for now. Currently stripping paint off a Warhammer mini so I can repaint it. That's fun. I got those Valeri sets came in for the War Thunder collab stuff. So I thought I would give them a go over the next period of time. Ted becomes a dedicated Manalord streamer. Well, you know what's funny? Here you go, Otto. Right, so where is it? There it is. So right now, just on the list of games for 2025, right? So we have Kingdom Comes Deliverance, Borderlands 3, Diplomacy is not an option, which we've mainly fully played already. Warno, which we've been playing. Witcher games, Bioshock games, Orcs Must Die, which I'm waiting for Freeman. Supreme Commander, Zombie Army 4, Ad Infinitum, Forgive Me Father, which we've played. 9-Bit Army's other campaign, Cataclysmo, when the campaign comes out. Manalord, which we played. Bannerlord, which we played. Frostpunk 2, which we played. Signalis, which we played. Breath Edge, Lost Planet 3, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, which we played. Tales of Iron, Mad Max, Age of Darkness, Stronghold 2 and 3, Bear and Breakfast, Black Skylands, The Few, XCOM, Back for Blood, Bulletstorm, Doom Eternal DLC. And that's just like the list I made at the start of the year. Just this week, Grit and Valor has been added to that. Still Wakes the Deep has been added to that. Ground Control 1 has been added to that. Ground Control 2 has been added to that. Sniper Elite 1, V2, and 5 have been added to that. Remnant from the Ashes has been added to that. And also All Will Fall has also been added to that. Plus, this week, I'm also supposed to be playing Battlefall State of Conflict, which I hope we can play a bit today, maybe tomorrow. And then also SnowRunner, which we talked about previously, plus Chained Together, and then also just finished off the Company Heroes 3 campaign yesterday, because that is the that was the thing. That was the 2-year anniversary, and I wanted to do another campaign in it. So like that is the we're 3 months in. And yeah, we've been going a little bit ham, but it's been super fun. And that's the main kind of thing with all this, right? Like at the end of the day, oh, get me that food stall. At the end of the day, what this basically means is we have a ton of stuff that's there. We have a ton of stuff that's available. We have a ton of stuff that we can do pretty much like all the time. And that is fun. And that's how it should be. But at the same time, you know, there's a ton of stuff. So it's one of those where you're just going to consistently do more and more things as you go forward. And that's the problem right now with like games. There's just way too many of them. I could give somebody a budget of like $40 a month, and you could easily get like thousands of hours. Not even just with like free-to-players, just like with old games which have like, you know, turned up or people have enjoyed over the period of time. And that is just like nuts to me that that's the case. Hey Shimakaze, nice to see you. Blackout because the Transformer explode during the Feros mission? Shit. I see Angel of Osiris. Nice to see you. Yes, we are just doing the tech talk, but also we are the work area is not empty. Like, go get the damn berries, you twats. We're just doing some of... Ooh, we got our first wool. We're just doing some mana lords along with the tech talk. By the way, if any of you guys have any questions, this would be kind of the time to do it. Just because, as I said, we're doing the tech talk. We've gone through all of the comments of the previous tech talk. There wasn't a lot of them this time, probably because of the good old burnout of the update. But there's a bunch of stuff that's going to happen going forward. We obviously have the Feros event. Feros has been going fine. No issues with that. Like, it's, you know, it's just grinding out some of the new vehicles. And then Page of History has been going along pretty well. I need to... What I was thinking of is, in terms of like sorting. Oh, other thing, Arms Trade Tycoon tanks. So Arms Trade Tycoon tanks, they're adding in the World War II stuff. So, yeah, all the World War II stuff is now coming in again, or wasn't in before, but now it is. So they're doing the First World War, they've done the Interwar. And now they're doing World War II. So crazy, right? Like it's insane the amount of stuff that they've added to that game. So that's another one where like there's just a ton of stuff going on. And so as War Thunder's ramping up, there's like a ton of other stuff that's ramping up at the same time. Even Mana Lords, right? Like Mana Lords at this moment in time, they're adding in a new update. It's going to have a new map. They're going to add in the stone stuff. Whatever the stone stuff is, like the stone castle. And then also they're completely redoing the development system. Have I played Iron Harvest? I have, yeah. I played all the campaigns. Iron Harvest is super fun, Otto. If you like Company Heroes, you really enjoy Iron Harvest. These guys are 50% across this field. I may have made it slightly too big, but they're they're getting there. Goddamn. Well, you're interested in the new game upcoming about time travel to medieval, right? What I know what game you're talking about, Shimakaze. Oh, by the way, thank you for the follows. Right, Rick, and then also Detix. That's very kind of you. So that game, I can't remember what it's called. Do you remember its name? But that game worries me, right? And I'll tell you why. So when I look at it, when I look at what that game is and what it has in it, it just seems too much. Do you know what I mean? It seems like there's too much going on with it. So because there's way too much going on with it, it makes me think that there's something that I'm missing. Like there's something, yeah, Kingmaker, that's what it's called, Abby. It makes me think that the game is not proper. And I know that's really pessimistic to be, and I get it. But there's also been many, many games which in the past they have had problems with promising a ton of stuff and not delivering, right? So there was a game that was like an RTS or kind of like a nice see Rick, hopefully you're doing good. Bonjour. But there was a game which was supposed to be like a tower defense game, and then what ends up happening is it turns into a game where you go like first person and then fight everything by yourself. And there's some games which have done this like pretty well, but there's also other ones which have just gone way off the deep end in terms of like promising just a million stuff over and over again, and they just haven't delivered at all with those things. And when I look at games like that one, the Kingmaker game, it makes me feel like that. It makes me feel that there is a problem with it and that it is going to cause this problem kind of going forward. And I might be completely wrong. And I hope I am completely wrong. But it just doesn't feel right. And that to me is a bit of a problem. There's just something that irks me about it, and I don't know what it is. So I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping it can deliver everything and everything like turns up and everything's great, all of that great stuff. But every time I see like the footage of it or like the small things about the footage, it never, ever, ever seems to have that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it will just take the world by storm and everything will be great and everything will be fantastic and you won't have to worry about anything. It'll all be absolutely wonderful. But if that's the case, I will be very surprised. Okay? Well, yeah, Kerbal Space Program 2, No Man's Sky, exactly. Oh, there's also like just a bunch of other games that are like similar to that, right? Where it's obvious that they were just never like fully finished. And that just, kind of makes me sad in a way. So we have to get this kind of harvested. Sorry, we need to get this planted by May. This whole piece here. So hopefully we can. So yeah, I feel like War Thunder is maybe coming to the end of its life, not in regards to the player base, but for what vehicles can be added. What else can they add? A handful of World War II vehicles, some more modern fighters like the Raptor, the F-35, that sort of stuff. There's a million things they can add. Like the amount of stuff they can add is crazy. So I wouldn't worry about that type of thing. Yep, that's not the word I'm looking for. The one that you have to worry about in terms of stuff like that isn't. Oh, we got some chickens. Beatrix the chicken. And Grethline. We also have Elite, Margaret, and Gerhors. What names are their chickens, these things? But yeah, so the thing that I'm more worried about is people keeping interest. Because, it's like ground, right? How many times do you have to play an Abrams before you played an Abrams? How many times do you have to play the Leopard before you played the Leopard? And I think the way that they're going to try and fix that is they are going to try and I think they're going to try and do it in a way. So they're going to try and do it in a way so they'll just like keep adding in more and more different stuff. So they will just keep adding in more and more like different nations which have slightly different vehicles, and that's how it's going to go. But they have plenty of room for expansion. The main problem is keeping people interested in playing that, and then also at the same time keeping people interested in trying new things, which is the problem that we have right now in terms of War Thunder, because there is not a ton of interest in wanting to try different stuff, at least from what I've seen. Hey, we have a bunch of shoes. Look at that. Lovely. People don't want shoes? I can export shoes. Keep 15 shoes in reserve. So yeah, that's something, at least for me, that I'm a bit more worried about than the other part. I don't think the issue with running out of specific things to add is ever going to be a problem. That to me is more kind of like a done deal, you know. Game's still not balanced, even the matchmaking's a mess. The game will never be balanced. It's impossible to balance, so it's not gonna happen. Be nice if it would, but yeah, not at the high tier. It's not too bad at the low tiers. There's some criminal BRs, but mostly it's okay. Over the next week, there's going to be a bunch of pretty interesting stuff going on. Like, I want to try and do kind of like a new review series where we talk about some interesting games, but I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I thought maybe like showing highlights of those games. I also want to get into making content around Arm Trade Tycoon, which is something that I've said a million times, but I actually want to dedicate myself to it now because I find it really fun. Need to figure out something to do or how to do it kind of going forward. So I'll have a think, as always, with these types of things. Because at the moment, I'm very happy with the position that I'm in terms of like everything going on. But also, it's something I was like thinking about, like expanding and moving around to different stuff. Can't believe that they've nearly done all of this. This guy's unassigned. 2 vehicles I thought were under BR'd with the IT1 and that T35 with the T55 with the APS. Goodness, I hate that thing. Thoughts? The IT1 is good in a few scenarios. The thing that is a bit different is its armor, right? Its armor means that it's a lot better than other vehicles at it. I think it could go up, but the missile is pretty ass on it. Like that is one of the problems. Like it's not a good missile. Oh, look at the chicken coop. Isn't that nice? How lovely. Get some eggs. So yeah, that's definitely something that I feel would be pretty decent to kind of like look at. I think the AMD should go up in BR. I've thought that for a long time, you know. Like I think in general that's one of those which has always plagued me. One of the changes that they made which really pissed me off like when they decided to do it was when they were decompressing everything, so they moved it all up, and then they kind of left the AT gem carriers there, which I was like, oh, that's fun, like that's a good idea. And then they just straight up didn't, and they ended up fucking it and making it so instead like they went all up as well, which was just kind of sad. Basically meant that they were still left over there. I decided not to build the mana yet. We'll get this done first, since the weather is a bit better. We're nearly at 80% now, following the field. I don't know if it'll be up your alley in terms of type of game you play, but have you heard of Balatro? So when the Game Awards came around last year, Otto, Balatro was like obviously in everything, and I looked into it, and it seems okay. Like it's generally like a fine game. I think it's something that I don't know if as you said, I probably won't play. But as time goes on, you know, anything is possible. One of the problems I'm having right now is my wrist is fucked. Like this, my right wrist, this one. You could probably actually see it a bit. Like it's a little bit swollen, but this is mainly from weightlifting, right? And because I'm not giving it enough time to kind of like rest, where I can't really like push my hand this way without it like really hurting, or push it like that far that way without it really hurting. So games which have a lot less like mouse movement at the moment are preferred, which is kind of funny because obviously, I don't want to hurt myself as much. I am actually reading a bunch of books though on ways to fix the issue. So to try and make it so I don't constantly hurt all the time, because this has been going on for like a few months now. It's basically when I really started putting up the weight on my putting up the weight on my on the bar. Like when I got above 200 was when it was putting a lot of strain on my wrist. And the problem with it is my wrist doesn't get any respite because obviously we stream and, you know, play War Thunder and stuff. So it means that it's just kind of always in a state of like tension. So I probably have like either like a little bit of tendonitis or just strain something, and I'm just not giving it enough time to relax. So gonna have to think of something to fix it. Whether it's like taking a little bit of time off or whether it's like doing something else to chill with it, and then we'll kind of go from there. Curiosity, how players using proxy as main ammo but not exploding midair randomly. So they added a feature, I think it was in the December update, where what happens is you can actually set the fuse to either be impact or proximity. So it's just a quick switch of a button and it changes it. So on the Panzerhaubitze, I was using it and it's really, really useful. So you can just kind of do that. I don't know where the option is, but it's in like the ground ones. So that's something to have a look at. But one of the things that's super flared up my my wrist over the last little bit is playing Company of Heroes, weirdly enough. Just because I had to move around quite a lot and had to push stuff pretty aggressively. So yeah, it's god damn it. It's it's made it kind of annoying. Hey Freeman, nice to see you. I haven't looked at the future game show. I thought we could do that today. Today's gonna be a pretty chill day. We're gonna play some War Thunder, but also play some other stuff. But yeah, we could watch the future game show. Might be pretty fun. Abby actually sent me a game for it, Freeman, which may be useful. It was the FBC Firebreak, which seems to be a co-op 3-player deal, which could be pretty fun. So maybe we can check that out at some point. Good old saw pit, constantly full of timber. How about we reduce the reserves so you stop filling it with timber? There were plenty of co-op games? Well, that's good. Because after what looked like a failure for Killing Floor, we're gonna have to find something else. You should try Cursed Tank Sim on Roblox. It's very surprising in the level of detail for a game on Roblox, as well as having the ability to build your own tanks and fight against each other with them. That sounds pretty fun. Roblox is such an odd platform for me. Same with like Fortnite. I find the whole thing very confusing, but it's good that people enjoy it. I watched this show. They even brought back Painkiller and made it co-op. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, we'll watch it today, and we'll see what's going on. What was the crop growth again? June to August. So we're in April right now. Harvesting, plowing, and sowing crops. Okay. Wait, autumn is when you sow crops? What? Why would you sow crops in autumn? Is this like winter wheat? Oh, 2 seconds. The missus is calling. Hello? Sorry about that. We were just looking at something. Hey, Black Ivy, nice to see you. So you may not be diagnosed with it. Look into a carpal tunnel support for your wrist. I use one and it's helpful. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Because I agree with you. I think a little support for my wrist might be worth it. Like I wear supports when I weightlift. But yeah, it's the fact that it's just repetitive all the time. I'm gonna talk to Bryce about it as well, because he's I think from his fishing he's having a bit of a problem with one of his arms too. So I think we can maybe work something out from there, and then see what goes on. All right, well, let's end this tech talk here. As I said, there wasn't a ton this week. Not a ton of stuff to kind of go through, but maybe next week there'll be a little bit more, especially with like April Fool's coming up and a few other events coming up too. This time we actually did get quite a lot of stuff done here. We got the clay furnace built, which we'll have to go with soon. We got the weaver's workshop built, so we can start making clothes. These guys are the ones who make linen and yarn. So basically using flax and wool, which is why flax and wool are super important. And then what you do with these guys is you can change that into clothes, if I remember how to do it. Oh, yeah, you make the buildings on these and make these into the clothes places and all that when you get them up to level 2. Like here on the tailor's workshop, and then also some of the other stuff too. So we also sowed the field, our first field. So we're going to have our first crop this year, which is going to be really cool. It's already a 1% growth after the sowing. But we didn't get this up. We'll do that next time. But thanks for watching the Tech Talk. If you have any questions, of course, stick them in the comment section. And we will be back next week. Look after yourself.